Prime Minister Narendra Modi has given a new interview ahead of elections coming in 5 states and the Lok Sabha elections, of course, in 2024. And the Prime Minister has laid out the roadmap for the future of the world. He has called for a human-centric worldview, and he has said that India is proving to be a catalyst to drive the world away from a GDP-centric approach to a human-centric approach. The Prime Minister on the Ukraine war called for dialogue to solve the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. He has spoken on a range of issues, right from Ukraine, the country's development, to also cyber crimes, as he stressed on the need to fight cyber crimes and fake news as well. My colleague Maria Shakil joining us for more details on this. So Maria, this interview has been given to news agency PTI. Take us through the highlights, the top statements coming in from this interview.
Yes, so as you said, it's a very newsy interview, certainly. And but I think it also sends a message of greater Jan Bhagidari or participation of each and every Indian for the G20. The G20 heads of states meet is on 9th and 10th, and that will lead to the penultimate event where world leaders will be arriving in the national capital. The mood is certainly set, and the Prime Minister's interview to the news agency PTI talks about multiple issues. He says that how this G20 presidency has been almost like a defining moment, not only for India, but for a number of developing countries who have been looking towards India, because India was almost like a beacon of hope, which was speaking for these nations. It has talked about how events of G20 was held all across the country. The Prime Minister has in fact dismissed, the statements that had come from China in particular, that why were these events being organized in Kashmir and also in Arunachal Pradesh. And if you look at it, I would say that he has also said, which is very interesting, that a number of these outcomes of the G20 summit of India's G20 presidency has been very, very close to his heart. And he has spoken about fake news and how it is leading to chaos and loss of credibility of a news source. He has also spoken on a multiple range of issues, which includes taxation. But I think what he has said in the context of India's G20 presidency becomes important, because the timing of the interview is such that it is coming just days ahead of the crucial heads of state meeting. And the Prime Minister also talking about how India will be continuing with its contribution ahead. So the momentum that India has built vis-a-vis G20 will be continuing ahead, in India playing an important role in being the voice of not just the global South, but also setting the tone and tenor and going ahead with agenda. For the Prime Minister to say that Africa is a top priority for us in G20, no future plans of Earth can succeed without all voices being heard. I think it's a very, very important point, because, let's not forget, Priyanshi, the Prime Minister has been emphasizing that when India took over the presidency, it has become truly the action-oriented and an inclusive presidency that G20 may not have seen in the past. But I think the big, statement that has come, which is, of course, the message of Vasudev Kutumbakam, which he says is not just slogan, but comprehensive philosophy, which is derived from our cultural ethos. So it has been a showcase event, as we have been talking about how G20 has been about displaying the rich cultural heritage and tradition of India. And at the same time, he has spoken about how G20 has sowed seeds of confidence in countries of so-called third world. He has spoken also in the context of inflation, where he has highlighted that G20 presidency has led to recognition that anti-inflation policies in one country do not harm other countries. He has also talked about how there is a need for timely and clear communication when it comes to policy issues related to G20. But overall, the big message that is coming from the Prime Minister's interview to news agency PTI is that this has been a decisive, action-oriented presidency, and India has clearly shown the way to the world, and how Indians today have great chance to lay foundation for growth that will be remembered for the next 1,000 years.